Hello and welcome to the latest episode of MEP Engineered Online. I am editor Tom Oxtoby, and today I'm very pleased to be joined by Frank Ackland, who is Managing Director of Water Solutions and Technology company Xylem. Frank, a very warm welcome to you. Thanks for being here. How are you today?
I'm very well indeed. Pleasure to be here. How are you?
Excellent. Yes, I'm good, Frank. I'm good. Let's get straight into it. WETEX this year was a very interesting affair. Obviously, the move to a virtual 3D environment. Xylem were there once again. What can you tell us about your participation, and then also the event as a wider sort of move given the current climate?
Well, as I mentioned before we started recording, I've been here for quite some time now, and attending WETEX since its first inaugural event many years ago, and it's great to see how that event has grown and developed over the years. It really is one of the biggest events in the region, and we're always very proud to participate. Now, I think this year was revolutionary, really, in the way that the event took place online, and just the ability to interact and meet with so many business and industry leaders from the region, and doing all that virtually was definitely a unique experience. I think one of the things I sort of take away is it just shows how resilient we are as an industry, our ability to adapt and come together and make it work. Clearly it was a huge endeavour by the organisers, and it was great that we were able to participate, even if it was in a virtual environment.
And no doubt the question of digitalisation are going to be a huge element of WETEX, obviously this year and for next year as well. What were for you the biggest takeaways from the event?
I think we were very proud to be able to present a paper on pipeline services, which is really important part of our overall strategy when it comes down to sustainability. So Ian Rogers, one of our solution architects, gave a paper on how we can really get to grips with some of the big challenges we have, and very importantly, how we can bring technology to bear to solve some of the core issues that we see with water. And our ability to help and work with municipalities and utilities and bring technology to resolve some of those issues. So it was a great event, and Ian did a great job showing off some of our latest technology. It was good.
Mm-hmm. So what's your thoughts on how that technology can be used to safeguard water supply here in this region? It's such a critical talking point. It's almost at the top of every agenda. How do you think digitalisation and new technologies and innovation can I don't want to say stop the leak, but make sure that's watertight?
Make it watertight, absolutely, fully agree. It's really interesting. So if you look at say the MENA region as an example, about 60% of the population across MENA in the Middle East and North Africa doesn't have access or regular access to drinking water. If you look at utilities around the world, there is a big issue with a term called NRW, which is non-revenue water. So non-revenue water is basically the amount of water lost from the source before it gets to the tap. And we see numbers of high 30s. I think the average is around about 34% of all water is lost before it even gets to the consumer. And the importance of bringing in digital technology to address those issues is absolutely fundamental for us to move forward. The challenges in water are always a little bit more complicated than they are, for example, in the electrical industry. I came from the electrical industry, so I can do the parallel between the two. And with the advances in smart metering, the ability to put meters in more remote locations than were possible before, bringing those big data solutions, it's really fundamental. Now the numbers are also staggering. If you think around the world, 1 in 10 people don't have access to water. That's 1 in 10. And almost a third, 2.4 billion, I think the number is, don't have proper sanitation. So if you just look at where we are as as an industry, if we look at where we are as a global community, water is so important, and it's important for us as a company as well to get that message out and really to see water on top of the agenda in terms of the security, the scarcity of water, the importance of it. And this pandemic has just really highlighted the importance of access to clean water. So it's really our mantra. If you just look at below our logo, we say let's solve water, and that's not just a cliche. It's what the 16,000 people in Xylem do every single day. They're trying to figure out how do we solve some of those biggest water challenges. And one of the things we're doing as a company is just raising the level of urgency that this is something that we've really got to get moving on.
You outlined some really significant key threats there. Has the last sort of 10 months to a year, obviously the events that are going on globally, has that impacted the focus of your R&D at all?
It hasn't impacted our overall strategic goal when it comes down to innovation and technology. We've spent a lot of time building up a very, very strong portfolio. I think we're in the enviable position of having a portfolio of products and solutions, whether it's traditional pumping or whether it's treatment or the digital side of the business with metering and analytics and software solutions and everything that we can do to work with customers across the portfolio of market segments in which we operate. Whether that's in agriculture, we work with companies around the world on how to have more efficient irrigation. In residential, how can we bring residential solutions to have higher levels of water efficiency in the home? Commercial buildings, one of the biggest uses of energy in a commercial building, very obviously applicable to the MEP audience is how can we build smart buildings? And if we look at those great initiatives we're seeing around the region, the UAE 2021 sustainability goals, Dubai Smart City initiatives, Saudi 2030, and other GCC countries, it's really good to see that that awareness is really coming through. That this is a really important topic that we need to handle. I mentioned commercial buildings, and you can move on to industry, you can move on to municipalities and utilities. So, to answer your question directly, have we changed direction? Not at all, because we know how important this is. What it has done is really emphasised how important it is to get that message out, and the pandemic has really accentuated the urgency of us all really taking the issues of water extremely seriously.
And building on that message, Frank, how do you think the average person can lend a hand in solving the water crisis? What should they be looking out for, and what should they be implementing into their daily routines and lives?
It's a great question, because the answer to water is we all can help. Every single part of society can bring part of the solution, and water is a team sport. It really is. So just take a good example, for example, of the pandemic and hand washing. Now, we all know how important it is to regularly wash our hands. Anywhere between 20 and 30 seconds is the guidance to help stop the spread of the pandemic. But very simply, when you're washing your hands, turn the tap off after you've wet your hands. Don't let the tap run for 20 or 30 seconds. Just little things like that help reduce water usage. If we look at the commercial building sector and new build or existing installations. Let's have a look at how we do the designs of the buildings. How do we use better technology, more efficient pumps, more efficient control systems and things like that. So we really maximise the whole usage. We're getting very much involved now, not only in new design, but also working with customers who have existing commercial buildings. And when I say commercial building, it could be any type of building. It could be a commercial building, it could be a hotel, it could be a hospital, it could be an airport, it doesn't really matter. And we're working with key stakeholders and going into existing facilities to try and help them improve the efficiency and reduce the water losses. Again, going back to utilities, the huge rollout that we're seeing specifically in Dubai, and with DRUN rolling out smart metering to make sure that we're measuring every part of the network and bringing all that information together. So, when I say it's a team sport, I really do mean it. It's up to 7 billion plus people on this planet to really pull together and make a difference.
Frank, retrofit's been touted as a huge growing opportunity for people, certainly in this part of the world. In recent times, have you noted a change in attitude with clients and customers? They're looking more at the OPEX and the long-term expenditure of things?
Absolutely. I've been fortunate to live in this great city now for more than 20 years, and I've seen the huge build out of the infrastructure over that period of time. And customers now, they're balancing their expenditure between new build and capital expenditure and operational expenditure. And it's really important for facility management companies to be looking at their bills, whether it's electrical or water or whatever, and coming up with solutions to be more efficient. And that comes through again from technology. The ability to go into a building and do some form of audit on both the power and the water networks, look at the types of control systems that are being used, look at the technologies being used, either refurbish or retrofit or add in measurement devices and analytics and things like that, so you can monitor. And then once you monitor, you can improve and make it more efficient. It really is a huge opportunity for us all, I feel, to help developers and facility management companies bring these solutions to bear. They're not expensive. We can retrofit buildings at very, very competitive rates. But it's not about the money. It's really about how we bring those solutions and just become far more aware of how we use the vital resources we have.
Do you find when clients aren't as orientated about initial costs, it grants you a freedom to be more innovative in what you're looking at? Does that have the knock-on effects to getting the next solution and the next solution and always improving efficiency?
A lot of it depends on the budgets that are available. And when we speak to, excuse me again, it depends on the customers we're talking to and where they are and what sort of budgets they have available. There is a broad recognition, I would say, that efficiency in any form is incredibly important. We do a lot with different stakeholders. And helping them design solutions, and every journey needs a first step, and we can go in with a big bang solution, or we can help a utility to map out their roadmap over a 3 to 5 year period, what they want, and slowly bring on layers of technology that helps improve efficiency over time. Leak detection is a perfect example. About, I think, 1/3 of all utilities have said that water loss is preventable. and 40% of the losses that we see tend to be in leaky pipes that people sorry, let me just rephrase that. 40% of the leaks are undetected, and it may be, in a remote location. It may be, under a road or something like that. So 40% is quite a big number. And if you're going to undertake a way of improving that, then you can do it the old-fashioned way. You just dig up all the pipes and replace them. Or alternatively, you can use some of the technologies we have. A good example is SmartBall. It's a free-flowing device that we drop down one end of a pipe, and it runs along, and it will take a complete acoustic signature of that whole infrastructure and come back with a report and say, yeah, these are the different locations where you have a leak. So you can be very direct and very laser focused on where the problem is, and then send in the maintenance team to fix it. And that's something you can't do overnight. You've got to work very closely with the customer and help map all that out. But every leak found and solved is a tick in the box and moving in the right direction to reducing those losses I mentioned earlier.
Absolutely, Frank. Frank, that is sadly all we've got time for today, but I'd like to thank you again for your insight and expertise and for joining us.
Thank you very much for the time. It's been a real pleasure.
And thank you, viewers, for tuning in. We will see you on the next episode of MEP Engineered Online.